guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I have another fascinating guest with me today. This is one of my favorite guests to have on. It's Ellen King. I first saw her on Leak Project, and then I invited her on the show. And every time she comes on the show, she knocks it out of the park. And she always brings receipts, like she always brings like evidence, and just good information. But more about my guest. She's an artist, a past life regression therapist, a purveyor of Marcel Vogel crystals, crystal healing techniques, and the researcher of occult topics. Ellen is passionate about the journey of discovery and sharing her findings with others. Following the synchronicity of the moment has become her daily practice. And she has a couple of websites. It's www.wellenbe.com. That's WELLENBE.com, and then www.ellensart.com. And she also has the Era of My Ways YouTube channel. And I want to give her a big warm welcome to the show. Ellen, thanks for coming back on. How are you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. You're such a joy to speak to. So I really enjoy our conversations.
Thanks. Yeah, what I wanted to get your opinion on this. I don't know what you think about this. I had Renetta on my show last night, and what we were talking about was AI to start off with. And I want to get into the four elements of alchemy and stuff too, but I wanted to get your opinion on this. The guest that we had on, he was saying that that AI is already in people, that they're doing it with the things that they're spraying and stuff, and then they can activate this AI in you, and
Yes.
it's what causes it could be possibly the thing of that a lot of people are saying that are have mental illness. That's actually AI trying to get you to act a certain way or do certain things, which may be the cause for crimes. And it went pretty deep, but do you believe that, or what do you think about how far do you think AIs went?
I think it's a lot deeper than we can ever fathom, because I believe that this technology has been here since the beginning of time. I don't think that this is new technology. I think this is very old technology, and that it exists underground. And also from the alchemists who came first a long time before us. I mean, we're talking like thousands and thousands of years ago. When you truly start studying alchemy, this is why I feel like it's imperative for us to grasp the foundations of our reality so that we can be prepared for what's coming in the future. And we can assist our children, because the children of the future, they need to start learning this alchemy. Because when you study alchemy, you will know the answers to literally everything, to every problem, and what you can do, because there's only one substance in the universe, and that is sound. And they are using everything right now. What I feel about this time period, we are in the Dark Ages, as told in Western astro-theology, and it's found in zodiac charts. We are in the Dark Ages. The Dark Age began with Pisces, and we're exiting Pisces now and going into the age of Aquarius, which is a technological age of air, which is of mind. That's why we're getting into computers and sentient AI and basically the Walking Dead, because we're going to give life to forms that truly shouldn't have life because they have no soul. So the next age will be Capricorn, and I do suspect that Capricorn will be rise of the hybrids. We're already seeing a little bit of evidence of that with the genetic modification of animals and splicing of genes and everything and all of that technology. But I do feel like the symbols of the zodiac can tell us a lot about the past and the future. So that's where that all comes from.
So interesting.
Well, yes. So the artificial intelligence, they have made nanoparticulates that we are ingesting in the food and also breathing in through the air. So they are terraforming the entire planet to have this synthetic life inside of them. They will be able to be controlled. So just my more recent videos have been surprising to myself, because all I did was question the water towers. What they call water towers are not water towers. And I am getting closer to that fact as I dive even deeper into it. I suspected, I just threw it out there to the internet, that are they Wardenclyffe towers? Wardenclyffe Tower was the tower that Nikola Tesla tried to establish in New York as a free energy technology device. And I suspect that we have those devices around us already, and that we just haven't known because we were told that they were water towers. But when you think about it logically, it doesn't make any sense that you would have to use so much power to pump the water up into the air. So what I did is I went and I made videos on this, and I came across information from a sign that was posted on one of the fences, and it said American Tower. It didn't say Waterworks. It didn't say Public Works. It didn't say anything like that. And I noticed too that when I was next to these towers, they're silent. They're not making any noise. And you would think that if water was pumping through them, you would hear noise. Also, there's no shutoff valve if there was ever a leak. I've never seen a water tower leak from any water. And you would think that they would require maintenance, being that it's a metal structure containing water. Water and metal doesn't work. They would rust. So all these questions, just very simple. It's like, just an average person that's curious about this starts questioning this. I found out that American Tower has been buying up all of the water towers around the world, and that it's owned by Lockheed Martin. And they're being used for the DARPA program, space weapons, SpaceX, space weapons, Planet X. All of these things are tied and linked together, but most people can't make the associations. They think everything is separate out here when everything is actually tied together. So it was fascinating.
Can you explain that again? So wait, what's happened? They're using the wait, can you go over that again? That flew past my head, but it was
I know, because it makes no sense, right? I mean, why would a water tower, if it was just truly water pumping into the city municipality, which I do not suspect that it is, because as I said, they're silent. They have no water shutoff valves. There's only one tube going into the ground. And just like Nikola Tesla, when he tapped into the water table to be able to access the 4 elements of alchemy, which is the whole earth is a battery. We just haven't figured out how to tap into it. And that's why I'm going into this element information today, so that everybody can start to see. But the American towers, they're owned by the space program, like the space weapons, DARPA, which is a black ops program to weaponize our earth and, control things. But Lockheed Martin is the purveyor of all of those towers. And they're held, that American Tower is actually held in a trust, which means that it's basically a cover. They make all these corporations as covers for what their true intentions are. And this is what we need to realize. A corporation is a dead fiction. It is a dead fiction, and a dead fiction can't go to court with a living being. And that's a whole nother topic for another program. But when you start dotting the I's to see that everything is connected, and we're living under the auspices of a death cult, a Saturnian death cult, because Saturn rules Aquarius and Capricorn, then you're like, what does this all mean? Where are we going with all of this information? Well, they're going to weaponize our entire existence, and they're coming out with all of the technology to literally control us. Now, keep in mind, this is not for fear. I'm not putting out this information for fear. What I'm going to explain in my next presentation, because I have a PowerPoint presentation, is that we are being honed. Our soul is being honed for a greater purpose. And this is the underlying cause of everything in existence. When you comprehend that alchemy exists outside of yourself and inside of yourself, and that all of the processes are exactly the same, then you gain that insight and introspection into higher awareness of what this experience truly is. But along the path, when you truly start questioning literally everything in your reality, you can see the correlation and why, even though we're going into this dark construct for the world, because the Dark Ages are also considered the Iron Age, which is where, if you look around, you see all of the metals that we employ in our existence. We're constructing buildings out of metal. We construct houses out of metal. We construct, cars, and literally everything. We're using all this base metal, which begins with iron. But then you can also find iron in our blood. It's what makes our blood red. So the next set of ages is bronze. It's considered the Bronze Ages, and it begins with Sagittarius. But is our blood going to also change? Because you can see, just based on what we see with this artificial intelligence that's going to merge with our bodies, what's going to be the solution to move out of that aspect for the future ages to come? Because for every problem, there is a solution. And we are it. We in our consciousness, we come up with the solutions. Because together we are one. But as we are divided, as we've seen currently and in the past, we can be conquered very easily and infiltrated by this darkness. And I believe that's what happened after the last golden age, which ended in Aries and went into Pisces. And I can describe that in a chart more than I can just, talking about it.
Do you want to share your screen, or would you?
Yes, let me pull up the image real quick. It won't take me but a second because I have these things.
Sharing. I got to figure out. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Do you already have? I'm just going to try to share screen and see if it does it. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So what we have here is an astro-theology chart, and I do encourage everyone. This is part of alchemy. And when you gain this insight and this awareness, it puts your feet to the path of knowledge, of pure knowledge, and the foundations of our reality. All of this information can be found in the celestial heavens above us. And this is where it stems from. Because we are the light. The 7 chakras, the 7 rays of light that are inside of us are also outside of us in our visual spectrum. So we are the stars who came from heaven to have this earthly experience. But here we are. Okay, so we're ending Pisces right now. We're leaving Pisces and entering this age of Aquarius. And it will take probably 200 years before we fully engross this age. But what we've been witnessing is this controlling force that was in Pisces that dictated a narrative based on relegioning the minds. And that religion began after Aries. So as we go into each of these ages, we're also talking about different aspects of the body. The age of Aries is associated with the mind, the mastery of consciousness. We're talking about Atlantis. We're talking about what Egypt used to represent, which was Kemet. Kemet was for alchemy, for spirit alchemy. That's where chem comes from, chemistry, alchemy. And all of these things were teaching. They were teaching all of the foundations of our reality and blossoming the minds of children to learn and know these foundational truths. But there's always 2 opposing forces in the universe as represented by the yin and yang. You're going to have light and you're going to have dark. That's what our world entails. The air and fire principle are represented in the yang, or this light and air energy, and then the yin energy is going to be the water and earth, that substance of which it's dark because we can't see through it. We can't see what's into the earth. And this is where I suspect, based on all of my research into many occult topics and also into the UFO phenomena, that these beings have come upon the earth from beneath us. So as you can see here, since we're in this cusp, that's why we're seeing this chaos. Change always brings chaos.
I got a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, when you say these beings, do you mean like beings that are kind of controlling our reality?
Yes, in a sense. So there is a demiurge that is spoken of in Gnostic teachings. In the Nag Hammadi texts, you can learn more about the demiurge and the archons that actually control this reality. It's just an experience for our soul, because our body is just a vessel. It's a temple for the soul. And we're supposed to be taking care of our temple, but the underworld is the antithesis to the light. It's part of the light, because as you have light, you instantly have shadow, but it's an opposite effect, which is a deconstructive force. And the deconstructive force is always trying to deconstruct because it cannot create. So that's why you see all of this crazy operations like 2020 in play, because the destructive force, since it can't create anything, it's going to create artificial life. It cannot. This is where we talk about the devil and, God, where God cast the devil down into hell because of, it's like a punishment. Well, the devil is upon the earth. You can kind of look at it that way. And the devil has its reign too, because we're in this iron winter. The dark ages mean it's going to be more challenging for us, because that's what Saturn represents. In our natal chart, each of us is actually, we're dominated by this force, this light and dark. We have both light and dark inside of us. And each aspect of the planets has an effect of our character role that we came to play. So that's why I say this chart, once you learn these symbols, once you learn the energies of the symbols and all of the ages, you begin to get keyed in onto what this construct is even about. It is about alchemy of the soul. There are 12 houses here for the 12 alchemical processes that are also found in alchemy, in like literal alchemy of science, where you're actually distilling products and things of that nature. But our body has the exact same processes as well through our digestive system. It's all alchemy. So Saturn is the greatest father of challenge. He represents the darkness. He is the Dark Lord. He is represented as Lord Vader in Star Wars. He is Sauron in Lord of the Rings. They're always describing our construct in a lot of these movies, and we just have to see it and recognize it for what it is, because they're telling us a story. This is the new stories that are handed down through traditions. The oral tradition used to be the way to hand down stories to generations to come, but now we have this technology, the TV, the mass media, all this stuff. They are now handing down the oral traditions, but a lot of it is deceptive. So as we go through these next 2 ages, it's going to be a real challenge. We are rising now with Rise of the Machines and all of this stuff, because we're learning frequencies. We're learning everything there is to know about frequencies right now, because we need this knowledge for the future. It's going to help those who are challenged by the artificial intelligence that is going to police our world. That's what's rising before us, is the Terminator. The movie The Terminator is actually rising in front of our eyes. This is the seed that's being planted.
Well, how far do you think they can go with artificial intelligence? Do you think, do you think it can become sentient?
Yes, it's already preordained. In the Rosicrucian teachings, they talk about Ahriman. So Rudolf Steiner was a person who was actually an alchemist of sorts. He would talk about, in his lectures, he talks a lot about Ahriman, this character named Ahriman, and how Ahriman will incarnate during this epoch. So this epoch, is about the mechanical means of a false life. It's a dead life. And what are they doing? If you look outwardly in the world, you'll see that they're terraforming this plane. For who? For whom are they terraforming? Because we can't live in a world without trees and plants and animals and sky and all this and clean air. It's being poisoned. It's being darkened. So, and also the food, they're giving us pseudo food.
Yeah.
And it's also having an effect on our genetics. because as we eat fake food, we therefore become fake. So we're being groomed for something of the future. And I do suspect that it's going to be cyborgs. Like our body will be more cybernetic, but there will be a faction of people that still hold the balance of a natural world because it's always here. So
Do you
that's what
see that
I
divide
see.
happening right now? Like, I mean, do you see like the people starting to already become like ingrained with artificial intelligence?
Yes, from what I've been diving into in my curious ways is they've had this cloning technology for a very, very long time. And I do suspect this is thousands of years old. When you look at the alchemists of old, that like Paracelsus, for example, he could make a diminutive human from a few pantry ingredients. And you didn't even need to have like a male or female. You didn't need to have an ovum. He made it through alchemical processes, which means these other entities that are beneath the ground that I suspect get let out. Like we've had CERN, we've had all this stuff. We've had a lot of black magic after the fall of what we call Kemet. It became Egypt. And I suspect that this thrice great Hermes that everybody is praising is actually no more than a thief. From what I have actually, just looked in a brief amount of time of what Hermes represents. Hermes was a thief. He was a god of thieves and merchants, which makes no sense for someone who's supposed to be all-knowing. I suspect that he stole Thoth's writings. Tahuti was Thoth's name, and then made off with it and gave it to the Catholic Church people, like the Rome. And there's a narrative that has not truly been connected. And it's a whole string of events that I don't know why people can't put this together. And it's even spoken of in the names of the countries. When you start truly looking at the names of the countries, and you break it down into its sound frequencies, you go, okay, Egypt. Well, GYP means swindler. So, and in a lot of languages, the H is silent. So if it had an H on the front, it would be he gypped. So like he gypped them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But then Chinese. So Chi is actually key for key energy for life. But knees, they put the key on their knees. I'm just going, are you kidding me? And then pain. Then S, I suspect, was representative of the serpent. And then S, pain, Spain. I'm just like, and grease is like a liquid, like when you pulverize something, you have to pulverize something to get the grease out of it. And I'm like, oh no. So that's just how deep my mind is. It's constantly working. I am actually a triple air sign. I'm double Aquarius with Libra moon. So I have all of this thought energy that I've imbibed in my form, and that's why I'm constantly thinking about literally everything in existence.
I get a question. Not to get off track, but like, how do you figure that out? Like, how can I figure out what I am? Like how do you know?
So it goes by the date of your birth and the hour of your birth, because each hour, as the hours tick through the day, this wheel is also ticking by. So you can be born in the hour of Capricorn, but born under the sun of Libra. It can be all these factors create the you that you came in to play, that character role.
That's interesting. That's so interesting.
This is a science. This is the science, the real science behind literally everything in our existence.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, I can't express enough that people need to just look into this, if they're even remotely curious about their world. Because there's a lot of people that don't, that they don't want this knowledge. They don't care about this. They came for some other purpose. That would be dictated in their chart, in their natal chart, because you can find out exactly what you came here for by looking into your natal chart. And there are free programs online If you just look for a free natal chart reading online, they call it astrology reading. You look for one online and you can find out. If you know your time of birth, that's going to be pretty important. If you know the day, at least you'll get kind of close to the energy that you came in to represent.
I got a question. It's like the New Age is saying, I said this in other shows, but I repeat it again because I had Robert Sullivan on my show. He's like a Freemason. He's like a 32nd degree Scottish Rite or whatever. And he's starting to put something together that he thinks the age of Aquarius is going to be more diabolical than, so like the New Age is saying that they think it's going to be like very, like we're all like, light and love and all that. But he thinks, based on some curse that he's put together that has to do with Aleister Crowley and the Native Americans and the Go to Mendes, he thinks it's going to be like more doom and gloom. I mean, like kind of like what we're seeing now, like, but even more amplified. What do you think about that?
I think you can never have more than one force than the other. In this existence, in this construct, it is a duality. And what you think, you become. So it's up to us to hold that space for the light. We have to be aware of the traps that are being set up right now, though, currently. So those traps include things like WorldCoin, that's going to require your iris scan to have the digital coins from that. They're going to sell it to people because it's going to be a universal basic income. So basically, it's going to be free digital money. And you can see that that's kind of like a bait and switch. And there's going to be thousands and thousands of people that give themselves to this notion that if I just let them scan my eyes, which are the windows to the soul, that, I can get this free money. Well, these are the things that we have to start thinking about now. Will we be willing to give up our soul to have money and abilities with the money? I've already made my decisions, and I decide, no, it's not worth it to me.
Well, they're trying to do this with everything, right? They want us to be able to. Everything's going to be like all digital. They're kind of requiring this everywhere. It's kind of like a AI takeover. And then once we give that sovereignty up, like what do we have left? You know what I mean? And I think that's what they want. They want us to be dependent on the system. But like, here's what I would say: is this the people that are doing this? They feel like they're going to be excluded from an AI takeover? They feel like they'll be safe or something, like the elite? Is that kind of like what's going on? Like,
I suspect that these people are already taken over by that energy. That's what I truly suspect, is that they already are subject to its rules and regulations and its energy that's inside of them. And I think that's why they're trying to get the rest of us in there. This is just what I feel. Let me show you just this real quick. This is this is it in a nutshell. Okay. WorldCoin is going to require, because I've already looked into this, it requires a retina scan, and they're going to offer it with universal basic income, so that people will be like, oh, I want free money. Yeah, I need that. Well, they're actually going to be forcing it on us because they're taking the jobs away. As you can see, when you go to any shopping experience now that's corporate owned, which is a dead entity, remember, it's a corpse oration. They are going to require not only that you have some sort of, one of their digital requirements for you to enter their operation, but they're gonna it just basically all leads into control. So what I've seen already, that they've already rolled out in Aldi's over in the UK, they're requiring that you have a QR code to enter their store, and they have a little gate that doesn't let you in. Then in Whole Foods here in Georgia, and in other Whole Foods, I'm sure, they also have these palm scanners that they're going to turn on, that you can just scan your palm. But then in other places, they're requiring, like I tried to buy XRP, which is supposedly gold backed. that requires that you do a screenshot of your face for photo recognition. So you see how they're starting to integrate all of your biometrics into their quantum system. Quantum means ether, by the way. And the quantum that they've created is an Ethernet that's connected to this artificial intelligence that is connected, I say, to the underworld. So
and that's where all these problems are coming from. The underworld, and that's connected to Saturn, right?
yes, because Saturn is Earth, okay? Saturn and Earth are cube-shaped energies. I have some of that in my presentation, which I should probably just go ahead and begin so that we can start talking about solutions, because there's always a solution for every problem. This is the thing that we need to know. But as we enter this age of Aquarius, let's just look right here real quick at what we've been through. We fell from the highest estate of Aries. That's why it's the ram's, is signified by the ram's horns. And you can see that there's two trains of thought, basically. On a ram's head, there's two spiraling energies that are made from the horns, and they're spiraling in opposite directions. This is exactly representative of our universe. It's spiraling vortices, and they're spiraling counterclockwise and clockwise all over the place. Well, we fell from this highest state of thinking, of consciousness, back down to the 2 feet of Pisces, which represent the 2 fish, or even the fish of Christianity. Now, since it's 2, it's duality, it's split, then we're going into the ankles, which is the beginning of Aquarius. And what I see are 2 foundational columns as we go into the future that rise up to the shins, which are just below the kneecap, for Capricorn. So those are 2 columns. This is 2 trains of thought. You have the natural world, which is metaphysical as well, and the metaverse, which is the digital world that's being created all around us right now. And that goes up to the age of Capricorn, which is the goat. The goat is a serpent. It's a water serpent and a land goat. This is why I suspect that it's going to be the rise of the hybrids. They're going to have all kinds of crazy things. We'll probably see centaurs and water serpent human things, and all kinds of stuff, because they've been making this stuff underground. They made a rabbit that glows in the dark. They made all kinds of crazy stuff.
A rabbit that glows in the dark? No way.
Look it up. I found that in like the early 2000s. I found that science information. Yes. They've spliced the genes of a jellyfish with that of a rabbit, and they made a rabbit that glows in the dark. They're doing this stuff. They've been doing this stuff for decades with all of this technology, and they're making these chimera underground because they can hide from the upper world, from our knowing, very easily underground. Well, you hear about the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases. This is what they're doing. It's science labs, it's technology labs, it's all kinds of stuff that they can then send above ground and start to control us. And I've seen this control system that's rolling out around us, and I don't like any of it. So I'm thinking third world country is about, probably the best idea to live out the rest of your days.
That's what Gerald and his wife did. Remember Gerald Clark? He passed away, but I know him and his wife Krista. They moved to Mexico because Gerald thought that like that America was under like evil Anunnaki control.
Yeah.
So it was like I don't know. It's interesting. I'd love to get out of this country too. I think it doesn't seem like it's going in a good direction.
It is coming to all first world nations. All first world nations have embodied this energy. And I believe that this construct also moves through the energy of average people, because we are the construct. We are just tiny precipitations of the whole, which is a huge consciousness. If you can imagine this entire wheel being one consciousness, and then all of its components are aspects of us, then that is what we're talking about. Like, I'm just a tiny drop in the ocean of consciousness, and so are you. And to hold this energy is what we need to bring into our awareness of Do we want to choose the darkness and dive deep? Because we can certainly do that. We can certainly dive into the cyborg world and become one with machine and see what that experience is. And there's a lot of souls that want to do that. But for myself, I see the natural world as the ultimate truth. And that is where my soul wishes to reside. So, I do believe that this energy, we're going to see a division, a complete split in society. And there's going to be the digital world because they want the 15-minute cities. They've been touting this. I don't know how soon that's going to arise. I know that they've established it over in UK. They've tried to put up the 15-minute smart cities with barricades and all this. People have been busting through it. I'm sure it was just a test, but this stuff is coming. And if you look into Ahriman, it's spelled Ahriman. Ahriman, and so Ahriman is also known as Angra, Angra, Mainyu. And I think that's Mainyu. Angra Mainyu and Zoroaster. In the Zoroastrian texts, they talk about this destructive force that comes about during this age, which is called an epoch. And they talk about Ahriman in the Rosicrucian knowledge. So, and the only one that I know that was really outspoken was Rudolf Steiner. And he was like an alchemist. He tried to teach nature and practical terms of upholding nature and the balance of things in that regard. But
he also believed in like entities as well. I know he wrote about like aliens and stuff, and he was real before, like ahead of his time. Like I think he was back in like the 20s or 30s or something like that, right? Or is that?
Yes, like he was in the early 1900s. So like he lived before us, and he's already gone, but but I can go ahead and also start this PowerPoint presentation because it's gonna tie into all of this.
Sure.
And we're gonna kind of see what this all means that I've been talking about. So let me start the slideshow here. Let's see, where is it? Play from the start. Here we go. So alchemy. When we talk about alchemy, we're literally talking about the construct of our universe and how to work with the elements that are at our disposal. So it's any seemingly magical process of transforming a common substance into an extraordinary substance of great value. And that's what the alchemists taught. So the philosopher's stone is actually a story of yourself and transmuting that divine essence and that spirit inside of you, that soul that's contained within your vessel. It's transmuting that soul to a beautiful, polished, shining gold substance. That's what we're basically talking about when we're talking about alchemy.
Like the transmutation of consciousness, right?
Yes, it's your consciousness into a higher awareness. So the definition is a medieval chemical science and philosophy aiming to achieve the transmutation of the base metals into gold, the discovery of a universal cure for disease, and the discovery of a means of indefinitely prolonging life. This is the secret for eternal life. And there are those that live in this construct that we reside in that have already found this answer. And that's what I suspect we're seeing when we hear about UFO battles and all of this. I do feel like it is the darkness that is underground that is fighting those who have already discovered the eternal life. So this also a power, a process that changes or transforms something in a mysterious or impressive way, an inexplicable or mysterious transmuting. It is inside of us and outside of us. It is every aspect of nature. So that's why I say, as above, so below, as within, so without. This is the whole notion of this thing. Okay, so I have to keep moving. I'm just going to go ahead and close this box here so that way I can see. The four rivers of the Garden of Eden. Now, these are the platonic solids. This is pretty much the energies of all of the different elements. and their base forms of what they look like in their spinning, spiraling little vortices of energy that are made from sound. Everything is made from one substance, and that is sound. And then from that sound, it divides itself into many different substances, but the substances are seemingly different, but they're actually of the one substance. And this is what we need to grasp in our own awareness so that we can start to comprehend how this whole construct even works. So here you see the ether is the thing that connects us all to all of the divine energies and to all of the elements. It's like what you would call the universal web, the interweb of things, interconnectedness. The fire is the light. This is seen in the sun and the stars. This fire is electric energy. It's considered photons. They also call it protons. See, they manipulate the words because this is what the underworld does. They constantly divide the knowledge so that it's forever changing and transforming into new words. But what we have to do is just grasp the basic concept of fire being a photon or electric energy. The air is also a particle, and it's an octahedron. This exists above the ground, and it is also a part of the light energy. This is what the yang energy is. We're going to get into that in a minute. The water is actually magnetic. This is what I've learned in Franz Barden's work. He teaches the hermetics of alchemy for your body. Basically, it's like initiation into hermetics, and it's a magical practice, because as you begin this magical practice, you're actually beginning to work with the 4 elements of alchemy within yourself, within your physical form. And this is what we can do. We can be very, very powerful beings once we gain the knowledge and awareness of what we can do with our mind and our body, because it is electric and magnetic. It's a battery. So then the Earth is a cube, and Saturn is also a cube, but it's a dark cube, and Earth is yin. So Earth would be a dark cube as well, which means that Earth and Saturn are the same. Earth creates the space, while Saturn, Father Time, creates time for us to enjoy our lives and our experience here.
That's interesting.
So here we go with the elemental archangels and their symbols. These are the 4 elements. Earth is always described and depicted in alchemy as a vessel. It's like an upside down triangle with a line going through down near the bottom. Now, the water is also the golden chalice or the holy grail that contains the water that it holds in the vessel. So then we have the air, which is the principle has a line that goes through the top of the pyramid here. And then the fire is going to be the light of the sun and the stars, as I had explained, and it illuminates our body with its electricity, and it illuminates the soul and the mind. So here we go. These are the different polarities. With fire and air, you have the masculine energies. This is the yang energy, which is active, projective, extroverted, animus, centrifugal, and levity. On the opposite end of that spectrum, or darkness, here is yin. It's the feminine aspect. It's earth and water. It's yin, passive, receptive, introverted, anima, and centripetal, and gravity, which is basically magnetic. Interdependent opposing forces. Here we go again. Here's some of the aspects as well for the yin and yang, because these are the 4 elements. This is the air and fire. This is the water and earth. Here we go again in an even grander spectrum of the masculine elements and feminine elements, earth and water. So this would be our physical plane. This line right here through the center would be like the physical plane of earth, and then everything above the earth is considered the fire and air principle. This is why Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, he put his tower up above the treetops, which the trees are harmonic balancers. They resonate with all of the 4 elements and hold the world in balance. But once we destroy all the trees, there's no more balance. It throws the balance off, and then you're going to have either too much fire or too much of the yin energy, the darkness. So his Wardenclyffe Tower, though, it had a little bulbous structure at the very top above the treetops. It was a triangle shape, which basically was amplifying the principle of fire or electricity, like a pyramid. But he had a tap root that went down into the earth and touched the water table, because he was harnessing the elements, all four of them. This is a battery. This is how it works. This is the fire, the electricity, and then this is the ground to bring it down. So that's why this is so important. Here we go in some of the aspects. Now, this is an esoteric chart where it actually brings in the seasons, the 4 seasons. So these are going to be the different aspects. You have Earth in autumn. This is the energy that it brings about. And you're going to have summer, which is fire. It's hot, you know, in summer. And then spring is always the new birth, rebirth. This is why the ancient cultures designated March as the beginning of the year, because it was when spring arrived. So it was like March the 22nd, I believe, somewhere between the 20th and the 22nd was the first day of spring, and that was the beginning of the new year. But now that we are under the auspices of a death cult, they've created their own calendar, which is the Gregorian calendar that we follow, and they begin their year in winter, in the dead of winter, when everything is dead. This is another indicator that we're under the auspices of a death cult, which is represented as the Vatican. They were like the head of the snake to bring all this energy in. So, and then we get around, of course, to winter, which is what we were just talking about. And as we know, there's a lot of ice that comes with winter, with the cold. So
this is so interesting. I never knew any of this. Like, I'm just kind of, I mean, I knew about the 4 elements and everything, but I never knew the breakdowns and how they were related to the guardian angels and everything else. This is really fascinating stuff.
yeah, I mean, this is just me digging into all this stuff on my own and trying to grasp, like, what is this? Like, I started questioning reality. This is even a strand of DNA. This represents a strand of DNA.
Oh my God, it's the signs.
And so you have the fire, you have the earth, you have the air, and you have the water. But fire and water, you're always going to see these 2 opposing forces in literally everything in our world. And once you dawn the eyes to see that fire is always represented by red, and water's always represented by blue. This goes with literally everything. You have Target, you have Walmart, you have the Republicans, and you have the Democrats. I mean, it's like literally, this is the Crips and the Bloods, okay? Bloods are the ones who are living, usually, and the Crips are the ones from the dead. They're the Walking Dead. So, and
my God, I never thought of that. That's amazing. It's almost like it was meant to like be that way, right? Like it was like I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, that's so interesting, though, right?
There is someone. That's why I say there are those who are living forever amongst us. We do not know them. We have not known them. We've not known of their presence, but they're spoken of in all the mythologies around the world. And the Hyperboreans are some of these beings, and they live at what we know of as the North Pole. In their cosmology and other world cosmologies, it's not the North Pole, it's the center of the earth. And this is
why do they hate humans so bad?
Well, the Hyperboreans do not. They're holding the world in balance, and that's why Tibetans are close to their realm.
Okay, but you're talking about these beings that like are creating people like the Bloods and Crips and stuff that are like,
yeah. Now they, I suspect, could be at the South Pole, you know, Antarctica, and this is why there was so
North Pole, South Pole, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense. I was going to add more to this, but I didn't. I was throwing this together before I came on today. This is more of the aspects, but these actually go into the aspects of your personality in your natal chart. So in the fire, there's going to be three different astrology signs for each element. I am an air sign. So I'm right here. I see curious, ideas, intelligent, communicative, social, all these things. These are all of the aspects that I came in with. This is what I imbibe in my character. This is my sun sign, Aquarius. So that sun sign is your main focused energy, but there are also other of these aspects in your natal chart that you also imbibe to create your character. And once we get off this, if you send me your birth date, I can go look up your chart and send it to you.
Yeah.
That way, I can try to help you out, and you can know everything about yourself, and you'll be like, what? How does this chart know? It's because someone created this narrative, this whole structured information for us to rediscover ourselves if we ever got lost. And now that we're regaining this knowledge, of which it was made to be feared during the time of Pisces, because they were telling people, oh, this is of the devil, this is, oh, Satan's work and all this, because they didn't want people to grab knowledge. People should never fear knowledge. This is the thing. It's what you do with the knowledge that matters. Like, you can have a knife and you can do amazing things with it. You can make stuff and create things, or you can go and stab somebody. So that's what knowledge is like, what do you do with it? And right now we have all of these thieves from the golden age who are upon the earth and have been using all of the knowledge for their gain and their benefit. And I have my own thoughts about that I can tell you offline. But I've said it quite a bit on my channel. I just come out and say it, who I think it is, like what group of entities that we know of are doing this stuff to us.
Do you think it's something like the Anunnaki or something like that?
No, because when you get into Anunnaki, if you break that word down, Anu was like the Lord. And I suspect Anu might be the sun even. But yeah. Anu was a being who was like a leader. And then Na is just a word like is or of. And then Ki, once you start looking into etymology of words, Ki,
right?
Ki was earth. It's also Kemet, and it's also Ki energy, like Ki, CHI. Yeah. So that's why I say, I don't think it's what they're making up about that whole narrative. I think they're getting it wrong completely, because you can just break down words into etymology and look up the meanings and listen to the sound. The sound frequencies will always give something away if people just study it that way. So, but yeah, these are all the different signs. You have the fire, which is you're going to have Aries and Sagittarius, and I'm learning these things. I think it's Scorpio. And so I'm learning all of the different like symbols, what they mean. So you have Pisces. Pisces is here. You have Cancer, and you have I can't think of it right now. Not Virgo. Virgo's over here. Virgo's this one. Maybe this one's Scorpio. I can't remember. Anyway, this is Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. I do know those because I'm an air sign, and I'm both of these, which is crazy. This is a lot of air energy right here. This is the Libra is actually the scales. So it's like truth and justice, and I'm like, I'm here for that.
It's so weird. I found something out. This goes into signs and stuff. Like my last 3 or 4 girlfriends have all been, I think, either Scorpios or they've all been born in November, which is like, so they're all like either Sagittarius or Scorpio. Like depending on their birth date. Which I just thought that's weird that like we attract the same kind of like I've attracted the same kind of like mate over and over again.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I wonder why that is. I guess it's all on the chart, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the chart. You're magnetizing towards people who probably have that energy, because that's what we do. We're like little magnets, and we click together with the resonating frequencies.
Yeah.
So, but here we go. So this is the one thing to note, that Earth is a cube, and so is Saturn. Saturn represents time, and it's an overlay for this cube. that we reside in. It's just an energy. When we're talking about this kind of stuff, we're talking about an energy that is being brought in. And even if you look out here right now, go and look at how many cube shapes or squares you can find in the world, and you will be like, you'll be slammed. Your mind will start to melt when you start going, okay, this cube energy, which is Saturnian, is literally everywhere. And then if you look into that chart that I had of the astrology, and you look at the different energies that were represented by each age, like even Aries is represented by fire. What were they working with? Pyramids, pyramid shapes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it gets into that. So the icosahedron, which is water, it is what I guess the churches were representing. I don't really know. They were working with a lot of water to heal people, though. That's what the cathedrals were originally intended for, is sound frequency healing.
So you think there was ever any good intention in some religion? Like there was?
Yes, I do. I mean, like all things, I feel like things get altered.
And corrupted, yeah.
Yes, because the darkness is always trying to corrupt something that is good and created with the light. Because just look at your body, for example. You're created from the light from your mother and your father. They've already found in science that when an egg and a sperm meet, they give off a spark of light. And you grow into this being. So you're like a being of light. You're made from light. But then as you die, your body starts to degenerate and it decomposes, which again is a deconstructive force. That's Saturn. The evidence of Saturn is literally all around us. It is not a planet out there somewhere. It is part of our energy construct that is a closed construct where we are in this whole cube shape thing. It says this is the universe. It's a dodecahedron, and it encompasses all of these other shapes, which are sound frequencies. And it's hard to grasp this concept until you truly start diving into science and spirituality, because you can't just have science without spirituality or spirituality without science. They belong together. This is what our world has done the mistake of right now. So here we go in the Pythagorean cosmic morphology of the four elements again. So what we see here is a pentagram, and people were fearing the pentagram. Why? Because they were told it was evil. Oh, this is the devil's work. This is evil. They don't want people to have knowledge. This is why they've told people this. They've sold people's idea that this is a dark thing. No, they don't want people to know fully who they truly are, which is the four elements plus the ether. Again, they put Gaia over here, but this is really about the ether. And they're talking about this just the encompassing whole. Here's the symbols and colors of the four elements again. We've already kind of been over this, but I just wanted to reiterate. These are the colors that they represent too. Whenever you see these colors, this is going to be their alchemical color as well. So you'll see these out in the world. You'll see these colors on flags. You'll see them represented in symbolism everywhere around us. They use symbols more than words sometimes. And if we just learn about these colors and what they truly mean, then we can get it. So these colors are also found in the chakra system inside our bodies. These are some of the rays of light that we imbibe. This is the heart, which if you took this H and you put it right here, it would say heart, okay? And then the water is the moon. The moon is the mood. The water is at the throat chakra. But then you have the fire too. This is Mars. This is going to be the root chakra, the fire that rises up through the body. Then the air is going to be right at your solar plexus. This is the sun. The light of the sun is the fire and air principle, and it creates the willpower that's inside of us, which is Jupiter. Yeah, all these things. So here we go. Look at this. That whole thing they call the Star of David is not the Star of David. David obviously was a thief because this was known around the world as the four elements. This is alchemy, and they were studying it. They knew it. This was during the
It
golden
even
age.
goes back to the Phoenician and Hindu. Wow, and Mesopotamia. That's amazing because I know those cultures are really old. Some people say the Phoenicians might be older than a lot of them. Like um, I don't know how old because I know the Hindu goes back really far and the Mesopotamia is really old, but and Armenia is supposed to be really old as well. There's evidence that the Anunnaki might have been in Armenia and I love history. I love talking
Yeah.
about this stuff. This is so
Oh, yeah.
interesting to me.
I mean, but even in Japan, I mean,
Oh my
they,
God, I didn't even notice that.
yeah. So this is the alchemy of the four elements. This is base root knowledge. It's foundational knowledge that we have not had the privy of attaining from school. School, they teach us nonsense because that's the Rothschilds' agenda, because the Rockefellers were the ones who were hired to put in the school teachings and stuff across this country. That's what they do. They hold us back. And this is where we can actually gain ground, is just by learning some of this stuff. So the 7 planetary metals, now this matters. This is us in a nutshell, okay? When we're talking about iron, we're talking about our blood. Look, it's the male symbol in alchemy, and copper is the female symbol, because copper and iron have that energy. They have yang and yin energy. What are they doing right now in gardening and stuff? They're discovering that copper can amplify the life force in their plants through what they call the electroculture. Why? Because it's yin energy. They're putting the copper in the ground, and with these wires and poles and things, and they're putting them up above the level of the plants, and it's pulling that yin energy, that beneficial energy, up into the atmosphere surrounding the plants, and it's radiating with fields of energy that are loving, because copper is because it's a Venus energy, it represents the heart chakra. It represents love. And iron, man, this is our blood. This is going to be Mars. It says it here. The symbol for iron came from Mars, drawn to look like a shield and a spear. It also looks like male genitals, honestly. And so does copper, looks like the female. So it's a circle, which is gold, above a cross, and it's a corrosive substance. So this can actually break down. But if you look at gold, for example, gold is represented as the sun. And that's what this symbol right here, with the circle with the dot in the middle, alchemically, this is the symbol for gold and the symbol for the sun. This is very, very important, because this is where you begin your learning of the philosopher's stone. To walk the path of light to the golden light of the sun is what we're supposed to be learning in this existence. Silver is the moon, and it represents also the darkness. So the silver is going to be the mouth, the mood, the moon, the mood that you also imbibe. The moon influences your mood, and it's represented as the silver here. Silver is also a yin energy, a beneficial healing energy. You can use colloidal silver to heal different ailments in your body. You can also, remember, they used to have real silverware that was made with silver and enhanced. It was stiffened with another metal that is like, it's encompassed inside of it. But silver is antiseptic, it's antimicrobial. It's a lot of things, but it's not poison. So that's why
they also have, I'm sure they have monatomic gold too. That's colloidal gold. I've used to supplement with that a little bit. I found benefit in it. I haven't tried the colloidal silver yet though. I gotta, that's it's interesting though, for sure.
Yes. Now, what I suspect is when you colloidal silver and gold together, you can basically tap into the prolonging of life. It'll prolong a substance. I remember they used to put silver in containers of milk before they had refrigeration and stuff. And even when they had ice boxes where they would have ice delivered and it would keep the substances cool inside this box, they were using silver coins to keep some of their substances good, because it will prolong it. It'll keep the bacteria from developing inside the milk. So they would put a silver coin in a pint of milk, for example, and leave it for a few days, and it would hold it just like it was in a refrigerator.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and
I
so
never knew
gold.
that.
Yeah, I remember this stuff. Like growing up, I remember like my mom had grown up on a farm, and I remember just coming across information as a child about some of these old ways. The old timers were using that stuff still.
I remember before my time, they used to have people would get milk delivered to their house. Do you remember that? Were you?
Yes.
I,
Well, I
I
mean,
would.
I was not a part of that era. We had a refrigerator,
Yeah, me
uh,
too. Yeah.
but yeah, it was like back in the 40s and 30s and stuff where they were
50s,
having
I
milk.
think too, 50s and
Yes.
60s. Like they would have milkmen, it was, I remember it being on those old shows. Like, because I remember growing up watching reruns of those old shows, and I thought that was,
Yeah, Leave It to Beavers, Andy Griffin or something.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So gold, I suspect, is necessary for prolonging life, and that's why it's so highly valued in this existence. But what they do to our gold is they mix it with other metals, so it's not pure. All of the metals that we have for jewelry and other things, it's not pure gold. It's
Yeah,
either
I know Gerald used to say, Gerald Clark, I go back to him. He used to say that that he thought that the monatomic gold could possibly elongate the telomeres. Like, because I guess when your telomeres decrease, that's when we start to show signs of aging. And there's a enzyme that our body produces that can fight off the decaying of the telomeres. It's called telomerase, supposedly. Now, what's interesting is also they found that monatomic gold, or they found powdered gold under Hathor's temple. And also there's rumors that the Anunnaki were using it. They were like, if they were here, if they really existed, they were using it to eat like golden bread cakes. Like they were ingesting it. Like
yeah.
this is all just stuff I've heard. It's not
Yeah,
nothing
no,
to
I
be
mean I've heard
verified.
that too, because you gotta think about this. They were living in the age of Aries when they were dealing with all these pyramids and all this stuff. When they talk about 4,000 years ago, you're starting to talk about the age of Kemet. But
Yeah.
towards the end of that age, I suspect, is when it became Egypt, and that they stole all of this knowledge and began subverting it, just like what we're seeing, with the age of Pisces and this distortion, this darkness that's revealing its ugly head now. I believe that each age experiences these different challenges in different ways, but they're also kind of similar because it's always the darkness versus the light. And so since they were using this alchemical process to prolong life, which is, I'm sure what some of these pharaohs were into, with their magi and all this stuff. The magi were the ones with the knowledge, and the pharaohs were usurping some of that knowledge for their own benefit. And I suspect that some of the pharaohs got the knowledge and started riding it out, saying, we're just going to rule the world, since we know that the age is going to collapse, because they probably knew what was coming down the pipe and they didn't want to die, quite possibly. So there's an untold story there, and you can kind of get a sense of it when you really start diving into both aspects of light and dark during each age.
Yeah.
So it's all in the energies of that zodiac wheel. I'm telling you, when you start really getting a sense of it, you're like, I feel something. And since I have been doing this hypnosis process, I not only perform it on other people, but I've had it performed on myself. And I did have an experience where in one of my sessions, I regressed into the age of Alexandria, and I was a seeress who was employed by the people, but also a pharaoh. I was a favorite of the pharaoh because I was very good at what I did into divination, into the future events and things. And I double crossed him because I didn't like him, but I paid the price. So it's really, really interesting, the story that is there.
You know what? It's so interesting before we go into this, and I don't have much more time, but I still want to, I want to tell you this real quick is, I had a past life regression done once. I mean, I've had like 5 or 6 done, or 7, maybe. I've had a lot. I like it a lot. I feel like it reveals a lot. But what I was going to say was I had lives back in Egypt too. I feel like a lot of us did. Do you think that that was like the time, like maybe a lot of us that came from Egypt are now living in this time, like now?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I feel like the souls are the ones that come in to don similar energy from what they've already experienced, but now they're here to attain even more experience. So we have those past lives, those memories are stored in our genetics, in our DNA. It's encoded in the DNA. This is our, the way that we keep communicating from each age with our own essence. We come in, because they say that we go through these spheres of energy where we rise up, you know, back through the sun, we go up, because you always hear these stories about near-death experiences where people go into the light. They're going up through the sun sphere, and then they go through all of the other 7 planetary spheres, because those are light energy. This is what we're talking about with the chakras and the 7 rays of light, the 7 days of the week, the 7 planets. It's all here in alchemy too. They try to confuse us with so many things by throwing this stuff out here. You know, it's a bunch of noise because it just keeps separating into more components as we go along the wheel of time, which is the zodiac. And it just breaks it down into millions of parts, and it's really just one substance. That's why in the beginning of this time, of this entire existence, everything was so huge. Everything was one, and it was just beginning to separate. But now, as we continue to go around the wheel, each time, each circle that we go around is about 26,000 years. And as we circumnavigate that wheel, everything is diminishing, getting smaller. It's multiplying exponentially like fractals of itself. So it's eventually going to not exist, but then subsequently exist once again. Like it'll just instantly appear, is what is said in these spiritual circles. That's so I'm going to try to just speed through it. I don't have many more pictures left, but I just wanted to show you, these are alchemy symbols, but you can find this in our words that we use. So we're using sigil magic in our letters. And these are things that just we need to just consider, is that they are numerical values as well, because in the numerical scale, we are talking about a musical scale, basically, and it goes 1 through 9. And you can either destroy or create using that musical scale. That's already been discovered.
I see some of these words that are like really really words we use every day, like gum, soap, night, day, vinegar. It's so interesting. This is really interesting.
I mean, even things like this, where you see this is Freemasonic stuff. It might say alembic here, but this is also arsenic. It's a symbol for arsenic, which is it's tied to Saturn and stuff. So yeah, on other charts you'll find that this means arsenic. You've seen it in The Simpsons too. They have this in their symbolism a lot.
Yeah.
So I just threw out all these different things because this is lead too. This is almost like the symbol for ZZ Top, for example.
Yeah, I remember that.
The symbol, there's a symbol for Pisces that is actually the symbol, the logo for the Hilton Hotel. So, I mean, it's like stuff like that. They've been throwing it out there in our face, and we're ignorant to it all. I wanted to show this chart because look, this is Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
The heart shape, it actually means vitriol, which is it's a bitterly abusive feeling. I looked up the definition, and they get us to celebrate that day, a bitterly abusive feeling, and celebrate with hearts. I'm like,
they make a lot of people feel bad that don't it's crazy.
Yeah. You have the 3 primes, or what's known as the 3 principles. This is what all the substances are actually made from: sulfur, salt, and mercury. Sulfur is acidic. Salt is a base or a alkaline. And then mercury. Mercury is like mind. So you have Venus plus the horns of Taurus here. This is like Taurus symbolism with the circle in the horns. It's an alchemy thing, where it's quicksilver. It means mind. It means a lot of different things. I suspect the way you make mercury is not what we're told today. There is but one cosmic substance. There's evolution, dissolution. This is also creative force and destructive force. It's the concentrative desire of mind to create the idea of many substances out of the one substance. This is the creative force that a lot of us represent and imbibe. while on the other hand, you have the disintegrative desire of mind to return that which it has created back into its source, into the one. So that's what the yang and the yin would actually be.
Where did
But
you
it's,
find all these charts? These are amazing. Like,
well, when I dive into occult knowledge online, I find images and I'm like, I need that. You
yeah,
know? And
I like
believe
it.
me, you should see my collection.
Yeah, this is cool.
This is the curious mind that just grabs all this stuff. Here's the three primes again. Sulfur is the soul. It's the principle of combustibility. This is making more form. Okay, we combust basically. We're going through this alchemical process through our soul and our experiences here. Mercury is the spirit, that energy that you imbibe when you come in here. Is fusibility and volatility. The salt is the body, the physical form. It's the earth, basically. It's non-combustible and non-volatile. Here's alchemical compounds. These I will just go through real quick. Acid, vinegar. So this is going to be acidic. This is salt, aqua regia, spirit of wine. These are just all of the things that you use when you're creating other substances. This is the processes to extract substances from other substances or to create other substances. So here we go. This is the one main thing to consider, because as you can see, all of the processes are here represented from the aspects of the zodiac. So I'm Aquarius. I'm right here. Multiplication. Oops, I clicked it too much. Multiplication is what we're going to experience during this age of Aquarius. We're going to multiply exponentially into many different ideas, concepts, realities, the multiverse, this whole idea of multiverse. That's what's coming. Multiplication of an intellect, multiplication of material goods, material gain, all this stuff. It's happening right now. We can see it. Fermentation is going to be Capricorn. Putrefaction. But yeah, these are all the different signs. So if you see your sign here, you can go, okay, this is me. I'm this aspect of alchemy in this process, and kind of find out what that might mean for your energy.
I'm Capricorn. I mean, I know. I mean, I don't go deep into it, but I know I'm a January, so I know I'm Capricorn. Yeah.
Oh, January. What day in January?
11th.
Oh yeah, you are. You're Capricorn. Yeah, because I'm Aquarius. I'm the 28th of January.
Oh.
So days of the week. Here we go. Now look, I just want to point this out. See this 7-pointed star, this green star?
Yeah.
This is the symbol for Space Force. And it's also Star Trek. Remember that?
Oh my God. Yeah, that is.
Yes, because this is the Elven star. It represents the alchemy of the 7 planetary bodies. They're going to be using this knowledge that they've attained through the alchemical processes and whatever other knowledge they've attained to create more of whatever. If it's the dark force, is going to create more through this energy, and then the force of light is also going to be using that same energy. And that's what I see when we talk about the artificial intelligence. Well, the force of light has to have the same capabilities. Otherwise, how could they fight the darkness off of us? Because that's what we see that's trying to encompass us right now, is the darkness. But there's always an opposing force to try to keep the balance, is what I'm trying to say in so many words. But yeah, you guys can go and look this up. This is all the 7 planetary bodies again. Now, squared circle is an alchemical symbol illustrating the interplay of the 4 elements of matter, symbolizing the philosopher's stone, the result of the great work. If you truly wish to know yourself fully, go and study the great work of alchemy. It's about discovering that which is inside of you and comparing it to that which is outside of you, and looking for this whole golden principle. And this is my last slide, I think, or one of them. This is just another example of the male and female aspect of yang and yin, and how these energies come together to create the universe, the known universe, everything. Everything is spiraling vortices of energy, and it's always going to have opposing energies as well. that are from this entire creation. It's always duality, no matter what we do. Red, violet, blue, violet. Yeah, this is how matter is born, is through these two processes of divine energies. So this is the very last slide. Oneness versus separation. Once upon a time, the idea of oneness was all the world knew. Nature's cycles guided everything in life. People lived by the rise and set of the sun. Our ancestors counted the year from the solstice and the equinox. Time was defined by the moon phases and the seasons. In modern times, oneness has been replaced by a worldview in which we see ourselves as individuals separate from the world around us. We isolate ourselves, protecting our bodies from forces of nature. Yet this is the very source of our potential and power. This is what the 4 elements of alchemy will teach us. Time it's become a linear digital thought form instead of a cosmic cycle. We are saturated and overwhelmed with electromagnetic stimuli and conflicting directives to such an extent that we become numb to the potential that is available to us in the cosmos and in our own bodies. Yes.
That was fascinating. That was really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I went over time.
Oh no, that's okay. I think it'll be good. I'm gonna try to put it out tonight or tomorrow or something like that. Well, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you and all that stuff? And thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. So I have Era of My Ways, ERA of My Ways, WAYS channel on YouTube and on Rumble. I haven't uploaded as much on Rumble, but I need to because YouTube's been giving me flack lately about my comments and things, and it deletes some of my videos sometimes. So I'm like, okay. I think the control system is trying to become sentient right now. Like, it's rising.
I agree.
So that's what we have to be careful of, unless you truly want to dive into darkness, you want to dive into the Borg and have that experience for your soul. I'm quite the opposite. I'm headed for the sun, which is the yellow brick road, is the light to the golden sun. And I see the natural world as the answer to all of our problems. And I see that in the past as well. People weren't primitive. They were living by natural laws. They were living in clay huts and things like that. They're not primitive.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and we'll have to do this again. I always love having you on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for inviting me back. It was fun.
All right. Until next time, and take care. Have a good night.
Bye.